The Square Ball Podcast.
Welcome to the show. This is The West Stand, our new show that debuted for this season. Comes out on a Monday and a Friday, generally speaking. You can find it on YouTube. It's in your podcast app as well. And we welcome in guests from across the world of Leeds United, from journalists to ex-footballers to commentators. I'm Dan Moylan. With me is Michael Normanton. You don't fall under any of those, I don't think.
Coach. More of a coach.
Life coach.
A life coach,
Spiritual
correct.
leader. NordVPN bring you this show.
Good. I was hoping you'd say that.
Fill the airtime now, Michael, by telling me about NordVPN.
Well, the game today was on, you could wait on ITV, couldn't you?
It was yesterday when...
Oh, right, yeah, that's true, yeah. It was on ITV anyway, which if you're in the UK, means it's free to air.
Yeah.
If you weren't in the UK, or even virtually in the UK, you wouldn't be able to watch that for free, would you?
So how, can you think of a way around that?
A VPN.
Oh, which one?
Nord, probably.
Superb. Well done. You get all the usual threat protection features as well. Safety and security for your public, for your data, sorry, your private data when you're on public Wi-Fi. The fastest VPN in the world. Can you make a Dan James noise around that?
Yeah.
I think we've done it there. One NordVPN account can be used on 10 devices. NordVPN.com/TSB. Have a look in the episode description box as well. Over to our guest now, which is Graham Smyth from the Yorkshire Evening Post. Welcome. You're right. You defrosted a bit from a very cold Ellen Road again.
Still thawing out slightly, I think.
Yeah, it was really bone-chillingly cold, that one. Not quite as cold as the fixtures in the new year, which was the really cold one.
Harrogate.
Yeah. That was that was a 5-layer. This was a 4-layer for me, but I'm feeling all right now. You are fresh out of the press conference. Tell us what that was like. And do we need to start on Buendía? Because Farke talked about him without talking about him.
Yeah, he talked around him. He danced around Buendía a little bit. He was asked about these comments from Unai Emery about the door being open for Buendía and a loan. You know, Emery's basically said, I'm not going to stand in his way. If he wants to go and get minutes, he hasn't had many minutes. And I think with their most recent arrival, he's not going to get any minutes, is he? Not at Villa. So Farke started with his usual caveat, you know, don't talk about players if they're not wearing a white shirt or a yellow shirt. We're yet to test that theory, though, with a player who plays for Spurs or, you know, Norwich, because they wear white and yellow shirts. But he's not talking about Buendía, except to say he really rates him. He was one of his best players at Norwich.
I still love you, Emmy.
And he read those comments not because he's specifically interested in Buendía, but because he's interested in football and he's interested in the Premier League. So he knew what was said, and he clarified to say, he didn't say the door was open for Leeds United. He said the door was open for a loan. But even if the door isn't open for Leeds United, wouldn't you kick that door open and put the Windies in and do whatever you could to get Buendía out of the house?
Yes. It's a straightforward answer, isn't
Just
it?
following hang on, I'm just thinking about this metaphor, yeah.
Okay. I think he's saying we should sign Buendía.
Farke kicking Buendía's doors in.
Kicking Villa's doors in to rescue Buendía because...
From his plight.
Because even if in the summer he was thinking, I don't want to play in the Championship again, the Championship's very long.
We're not staying here, Graham.
No, he's not going to play in the Championship for very long. But what he might do is come and make it a hat-trick of titles. Because if he comes here, for me, unless something goes abysmally wrong everywhere else on the pitch, they win the title probably by a distance. At the minute, I think they're probably going to win it by a couple of points or a small margin. But I think they're going to win it. If they get Buendía, I feel like they've got all the pieces in place to go and just go and win it by 10 points.
Yeah. Yeah. And it may even, if you do bring Buendía in and assuming he's been earmarked for the number 10 or advanced midfield slot, it might even elevate Brendan Aronson's game as well, trying to keep him out of the side. And
you wouldn't have to flog him to the extent that he's been flogged. Because he's a durable little thing, Aronson. I mean, today he played for a long time with a knock because he took a whack in the first half, I think. And it got more and more painful, so they had to take him off eventually in stoppage time. But he's able to play and play and play, and he runs all day. He's got so much energy. He does take a bit of a buffet in, but he doesn't seem to pick up injuries. But if you had another number 10, especially one like that, it's just a massive game changer, isn't it? You know, you've got two options then. Aronson's scoring goals. He's getting into great positions. He might have scored today, you know, if that pass had just been slightly better for the Solomon goal. So it's not like for me, he's taken a lot of flack. I actually thought he was all right today, or yesterday, whenever the game was.
The game was today, but this is coming out as it was yesterday.
Okay. Well, I thought he was quite good, actually, against Sheffield Wednesday. There was a couple of times, yes, when he held on to the ball a bit too long and he got dispossessed. But otherwise, I thought he used the ball really well. He looked after it well. He linked up. He kept it. He tried to control the game. I didn't think there was much wrong with it. And I don't think there's been that much wrong with him this season. But Buendía, yes.
Yeah. I think in our attack, he's very, very strong out wide. It's an area that could do with strengthening. And if you're getting Buendía in, you're getting as close as you can get to a sure thing as well. So it seems, if it's at all possible, it's the most obvious transfer we could make.
And a striker as well. If you put another striker in there, as well as Buendía, like you say, it's the insurance, isn't it? That's the way I'm viewing it. It's insurance against failure. You give yourself an even better chance of going up. And that's not to diminish any of the work that Joseph came on and did in the game on Sunday. I thought it was a good call to get him on as well, because it just gave you that option of somebody who can just run around, bounce off centre halves, and hopefully hold the ball up. It wasn't really like, I thought Pirro linked up quite well at times, but we know, with Joseph, he's just going to sort of do the dirty work and the physical work that maybe Pirro's not capable of. Yeah,
absolutely. We're almost in a situation where I think Joseph maybe needs to play a bit more, but he's not scoring goals. But Pirro sometimes doesn't do a great deal with all of the minutes he gets, but then you know that he's going to pop up with a goal. Like, there's almost a inevitability about him. Against Wednesday, I thought he was fine, Peru. I think I gave him like a 6 out of 10. It was like a 6.5, wasn't it? Because he was quite tidy in some of the work he did, but he didn't really get a chance. Nothing really came his way, other than that one shot that was deflected over. But there is like a bit of a weird situation with the 9 role. I think we discussed it before, where all 3 of FARKE'S 9s, they're not the complete 9. I suppose they wouldn't be in the championship if they were, but they each do different things really, really well. It's just about using them to those strengths. But I'm desperate to see Joseph get on and get himself a goal, just to lift that weight off his back.
And it'd be fine to get another one. If you've got an option of 3 there, it just gives you those just something different.
I feel like Bamford's injury as well gives us Farke permission to get someone as well. Yeah. Whereas if you're bringing in, because Bamford is a very expensive player at this level, but he's not fit right now. We don't know when he will be fit. And if he is fit, you don't know for how long he'll be fit. It's just another example of, well, he can't be relied on. So just go and get someone else.
There's too much at stake. Just do the obvious thing. I know we're repeating ourselves over and over again.
If Bamford had been fit all season and made some contributions from the bench, we're probably not talking about another number 9, are we? But it's yet another year where he's been injured, he's come back, he's missed a chance, he's injured, he's nowhere near the team, it seems.
I mean, there is every chance, Graham, isn't there, that we do have enough. That's the thing. There are 19 games left, and you could argue that we've probably got enough to go up. But as you said, it feels like the difference between maybe squeaking it and giving yourselves the chance to open up a gap, just somebody who might be able to convert 3, 4, 5 goals in that spell, even if it's just that, adding that to the team, just feels to me like not the easiest thing to do, but just like a really obvious thing to do.
Well, I think there's 2 things to say. First is that this squad was good enough to put Leeds top of the table, right? They've been good enough this season, and like you say, they'll probably be good enough as they are till the end of the season. But it's interesting to me that Farke noted last season and the whole Struijk situation in the press conference before the Wednesday game, saying, we've been here before. Pascal had a seemingly innocuous injury, 2 to 3 week time, and then we didn't see him again. He didn't play again, and they had to adapt to that. I don't see why you wouldn't use the same logic when it comes to Patrick Bamford, who's supposed to come back start of February, something like that. He is supposed to, but what if he comes back and he gets another niggle? And what if he breaks down? It's not like he's playing regular enough football to get himself into a rhythm and get his body accustomed to it. It's probably no surprise that a player that had injury hell for 2 years is breaking down as regularly as he is, because he's not getting that many minutes. And when he does get minutes, his body just doesn't seem to handle it or react to it. So there's a big argument there. It's just as big an argument as the Struijk one to act in this window, I would say.
What did Farke have to say about the Struijk situation and the defensive situation? Because he was talking about them being the Welsh wall last season, talking about Ampadu dropping back into the back 4.
He said it was a solution for this game,
but not till the end of the season.
And he said, but it wouldn't be our solution to the end of the season. Which
That's interesting.
It says to me, transfer market is what he sees the solution to, because he can't be referring to Max Wöber, because Wöber's like Bamford this season. He can't play without a reaction, it seems, to the minutes. His knee doesn't seem to be able to withstand the minutes.
Isn't he a warrior?
So he said,
Right.
or a fat capybara was the way it was described by someone else.
But
so,
not out of his own mouth.
So one of the two.
Right.
Or maybe somewhere between
Warriors
the two.
do also sustain injuries. Sure, capybaras do as well. I don't know how durable they are as a fighting animal, but
Could you take one? Do you mind? Would you back yourself?
I think so. Yeah. I think for me, Ampadu would be fine next to Rodon. But what Farke says is they then miss Ampadu, what Ampadu brings in the midfield when he plays at centre back, and that's exactly how I would see it. I like Gruev, great energy, runs around a lot, gets stuck in, not too bad on the ball either. But Ampadu is the best 6.
He's coming out of a long time off his Gruev. Also, that's worth noting. To talk about,
so is Ampadu.
Yeah, coming back from injuries. Ampadu seems to have just hit the ground running and hasn't stopped. Weirdly,
yeah.
But did you pick up on the some of the gaps appearing in midfield today? And it was in that sort of number 6 area that Sheffield Wednesday actually exploited relatively well, I thought. And you could see how someone like Ampadu in there takes care of all that, tidies it all up. Whereas having Rothwell and Tanaka, who are both a bit more forward thinking, just very occasionally would leave that gap in the number 6-ish position.
Yeah, I think they also tried to exploit when Byram was upfield and maybe inverted slightly as well. There seemed to be a bit more space for them to go down that flank, and they had a bit of joy. Credit to Sheffield Wednesday for actually coming to Ellen Road and trying to play a bit of football, though, because no one else has. And they actually could have profited from it slightly better if they'd been a wee bit tidier in the final third. But yeah, there were a few spaces. Leeds didn't have the game in full control at all today. But the second half was fine, largely. There was that one shot from distance, wasn't it, that Melee palms around the post. But you just need that second goal just because it's always possible that they'll bring on a big galoot. They'll have a long throw and somebody heads one in.
We were saying it's exactly what Blackburn did in response to us scoring in that game. Just managed to get a break and head it back across goal. Because that was, I don't know about you, there was always a little bit of nerves.
It was really nervous today.
Internally. No,
Elland Road, when Brendan Aronson passes the ball backwards, right, to keep hold of possession, and the whole stadium was angry.
Yeah, but do you understand why that is? Because I can explain that easy. To my mind, it's because we want to see attacking football and we want to see exciting football. And it felt like the decisions that he made a couple of times, I understand exactly why he did it, because part of Farke's mantra is to look after possession. Because if you've got the ball, you're not under pressure, are you? You're controlling the game. There was a potentially a breakaway on there, I thought, down the right that he opted not to follow. I don't know if is it a confidence thing? Just not wanting to make a mistake, something like that. Because
maybe Ori's looked up and the picture in his mind is, there's a potential break here, but maybe the player I'm going to give the ball to is slightly isolated, or it'll be very quickly be a 3 against 1 and we might lose it.
But yeah,
which is maybe a more negative mindset. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I think it was that. But I think if you saw that little passage of play, we were talking about this on the match ball, weren't we, Michael? Around the 77th minute, where it went all full shithouse championship, nobody could control it. It was bouncing around heads, nobody could kick it. It got everybody excited because it was scrappy and loose, and a couple of big tackles went in.
It did, but what if Wednesday had scored from that?
No, but what I'm saying is I think the slightly more blood and thunder sort of chaos factor gets people excited, and that's what you're going to be excited by somebody trying a through ball down the right, even if it doesn't come off, versus pivoting on the ball and then turning it back inside, even if it's the right option. It's not as exciting.
He's got Jesse Marsh's voice in his head going, minimal width.
Yeah.
Don't pass it wide.
I think
go.
on balance, he made the right decision when that happened. But
because the next pass went forward, and they were probably in a better position to control it. And Farke always talks about preparing the attacks. He's quite meticulous in that. He wants them to prepare the attacks the right way. So they've got pictures in their minds as to when it's a good time to give the ball down the channel and when it's better to go back left again, pass it around, draw a few people out of position, and then hit the diagonal or whatever it is.
I understand why he did it, and I think, like I say, he made the right decision on balance. But I also understand why the frustration exists, because I was frustrated. I thought, "Oh, go on, take the chance." Because again, it's a hangover, I suppose, from Bielsa ball, where you're getting players turned. And to be fair, down the right, we've got the tools there in Dan James, and I can't remember if it was James or Bogle who was on the right on that occasion.
And they were both great.
Yeah, and Dan James, we've said like loads of times on the show, Dan James is such an asset at this level because he can just knock it down the outside and beat a man. And there's a lot to be said for that.
Yeah.
Getting in behind. But I understand meticulous build up, look after possession. All right, fine.
But it wasn't just that moment, though.
It's not going to get me off my seat, is it?
There was the moment where Peru had the ball just outside the box and everyone went absolutely mental for him to shoot. It was like there was a real urgency in the crowd. Like please get this second goal. Like almost pleading with Leeds, score the second goal, please, so that we can relax and enjoy it. But I was at Bramall Lane on Saturday for the Norwich game and just doing some scouting for the next opponent, professional.
Passing it off as work, I imagine.
And there was no atmosphere at Bramall Lane until they were 2-0 up. And it made me think, is anyone actually enjoying this title race at all until the game is like completely won and there's no jeopardy and it's fine? Like, it just doesn't feel, it feels like a trudge, an attritional war. In
some ways, us and Sheffield United are in similar positions, though. Like I would imagine, I don't follow Sheffield United closely enough, but I would imagine them getting up under Wilder the first time, it was probably a brilliant atmosphere, just as us getting up under Bielsa was brilliant until the point we couldn't go anymore. Having both been there and seen the misery of the Premier League and seeing the bottom three being the three that went up, I think that's correct. Southampton on 6 points, just completely unable to win.
As Johnny Cooper pointed out, they took 6 points off us last season. It's all they've got all season this season.
Exactly. Yeah. So knowing that's the prize, it does, and knowing that as well, the dice are very heavily loaded in your favour because of parachute payments in a way that they weren't when us and Sheffield United went up the first time around. It's not as much fun.
Maybe it is like asking people to be excited about a trip to the dentist. Like, you need to go there, but when you get there, it might be quite painful.
Or it'll certainly be less fun, I think. But then again, is anybody really having that much fun at this level? I suspect not. Yeah. It's not really, it's not hit that sweet spot, has it? Any of it this season? Very, very rarely. But as Chris Mack was saying on the match ball and in recent weeks, we're probably now finding that, and what you described there about the nerves in the crowd, Graham, we're now finding the levels of jeopardy just creeping up, where
this time of year, games running out, they all feel like really important games, really consequential. Sheffield United won yesterday, so Leeds had to respond to go back to the top of the table. And they did that. They won 3-0 in a Yorkshire derby and kept a clean sheet.
And gave up no big chances as well.
No, that's what FARKE'S said, but I did remind him that Melier came for a corner, didn't get it, and if Tanaka hadn't put his body on the line, Windass would have scored.
We didn't mention that on the match ball, actually. Yeah, first half.
That was a big moment. Tanaka's done really well there to get in the way of that shot, because if he doesn't, that's 1-1.
Mind you, and since we recorded the match ball, I hadn't seen the highlights just yet, but I watched them before we started recording, and I saw that late chance that they got just before we scored our second. Where it got headed at the near post and went flashing across goal.
Yeah, and Valerie heads it, just flicks it right across goal.
I was going to say, I didn't realise how close it was to the man in the middle. It was really, really close. If he'd got a touch on it, that'd have been 1-1 as well. Yeah.
Maybe that's why we get a bit angry at not taking chances at the other end as well, because we know that we don't, even though we've got a good defence, we don't necessarily trust all aspects of it.
That's very diplomatic.
It's one way of putting it.
Yeah.
So you think, well, we're capable of blowing this.
Yeah.
So,
especially when you've got Blackburn in your mind as well, and then Hull for slightly different reasons.
Yeah.
I'll tell you who they shouldn't throw it away against, though. Norwich City. They were honking. Absolutely honking.
Well, they're not good, no.
They insist on playing out from the back. Angus Gunn to his centre-back, to Angus Gunn to his centre-back. Sheffield United just camped out on the edge of the box and just picked them off, just continually took the ball off them 18 yards, 30 yards from goal. It led to a goal, it led to chances, and Norwich offered nothing. Without signs, they offered nothing up front whatsoever. Right. I mean, they'll probably now come to Elland Road and play like, prime Barcelona. But
I just hope they've got the playoff semi-final in their mind.
Yeah, maybe. They've got, they'll see Gruev and have PTSD.
Yeah.
But they be interesting to see if they take as many risks against Leeds, because if you take that many risks against Leeds, you should get punished incredibly heavily.
Right. Let's hope so. That's the daft thing, isn't it? Like, today didn't need to be in any way nervous. We are a late bit of defensive slackness against Blackburn, plus a Melier Rick against Hull, away from having had 6 wins on the bounce today.
But Wednesday are good as well. You think when Leeds go 1-0 up, it's pretty much done and dusted at Elland Road. When they go 1-0 up, that tends to be it. Teams just don't come back against them, because if they do try and play, Leeds kill them on the counter. But Wednesday played well, I thought. Like they were organised. They did well, pretty well defensively, and they played some nice stuff going forward. Other teams, I think, would have probably gone under today again and been 3-0 down long before stoppage time.
I think they look like a well-coached team generally, lacking some good players.
Lacking quality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like the same. If we were to loan them a few of our players, they could be in the playoffs very easily, I would say.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we were talking about this on the match ball, that they had that spell just after we scored, and for a bit of the first half, that they turned into a bit of a competition. But then the game sort of deteriorated. I said deteriorated. It just ended up being a bit of a midfieldish battle that we largely controlled possession of. And then we did just pick them off late on. And we scored our 2 late goals after they had their most sustained spells of pressure in that second half. So ultimately it works, doesn't it? Teams do come forward and try and get something at Ellen Road, and it leaves us the space in which to grab 2 goals late on.
And also they're turning to their bench to bring on Patterson, and you're turning to your bench and bringing on Gnonto and Ramazani, which is a luxury at this level. I mean, the fact that Gnonto can't get in this team, and he can't get in the team, can he? Because Dan James, that one, the whole game aside, I think it was, has been superb. Manor Solomon has just eased into this run of form where he's now the best attacking player that Leeds have got. So you can't really argue that Ramazani or Gnonto should be in the starting 11 right now, but bringing them off the bench is just phenomenal resources, really, for a championship club. And then Ramazani does what he did, which was 2 fantastic strikes, 1 a goal, 1 an assist in a 10-minute cameo.
We didn't even speak about the somersault on the match ball, did we?
We didn't.
No,
I didn't. Do you know? I didn't even see it live.
Nor did I, because I
celebrating.
have to admit that I was busy screaming "fuck off" at the.
Good.
Yeah, at the
it's the right thing to do.
At the Sheffield Wednesday.
It's what they would have wanted.
It's absolutely the right thing to do.
I turned around just to catch him landing. Right. Thought, oh fuck!
He had to make sure the substitutes gave him room.
Right.
They had to prepare like the landing strip, because it looked for a minute like they were going to encroach in his potential landing area, which would have been disastrous.
Yeah. Yeah, bring the crash mats out. That kind of thing.
Could have been bringing a stretcher out if it had gone wrong. I mean,
could you imagine trying to explain that one in the dressing room as well? You've accidentally 2-footed, I don't know who was on the bench still at that point.
Giavogi.
You've gone in eye height at Giavogi. You've taken him out of the game. You've injured yourself in the process. You've done your cruise shit. It's quite an explanation.
But it was a lovely goal.
It was. He took it really well. Did that
just
little yard
swiveled,
of space.
just swiveled out of nothing and bang.
What's wrong with a good firm handshake?
Is that what you suggest?
That's what I think is a nice celebration for everyone to see.
And a cup of tea.
Yes, a good handshake.
Maybe just turn and
teammates.
wave to the cop politely and then return to...
Yeah, and we've got this far without talking about Altanaka, so let's talk about him. It's been a while.
Very greedy, I thought. That was going in for me, Ramazani's strike.
No way. I don't think it was.
I thought it was at the time, but you cannot begrudge a man who can do that. Little jump in the air, little flick of the boot, and completely deceives the keeper. Brilliant goal. Hopefully
Mr. and Mrs. Tanaka on whatever train they may or may not be getting this evening on the cans again.
On the cans of Tisky, I believe it was, if the pictures were to be believed. Whether or not they were drinking it, whether it was just a prop, I don't know. But I like to think of them getting stuck in.
Did you get a matchday programme today? Did you?
No.
Because it's a rival publication to your own. Is that a policy?
It's £4.
Okay, that's a good argument.
Yeah.
Al Tanaka, lovely interview with him in it. I happen to know that there's a couple of questions that were asked of him that elicited basically just yes or no answers. Very polite. Yes, not really what they're after for a matchday program interview. One of them was about his parents on the train, and his answer was essentially, they had a lovely time, yes.
But they were glad to get away.
But he was also asked about the fans, and he said about how in Germany the fans have a song for the team and they sing for the team, but here they sing individually, and he finds it really funny and he really likes it. He likes that like all the players have different songs. So it's really nice that he appreciates the fact that fans have come up with individual chants for him. And I think his chant is the best chant in years.
In the world.
The tequila one is just, it's brilliant.
Yeah, it's good. He's good. He's a good footballer, and he had the presence of mind to do that. So fair play to him. Fair play to him. Because it did take the keeper out of the game, didn't it? The keeper was going the other way.
And it's another argument, really, if Pascal's situation worsens, to get a centre-back so that Ampadu can play at 6, so that Tanaka can play at 8. Because if he's starting to score goals now, you don't want him playing at 6 for 90 minutes, do you?
No. Just spinning back to the transfer chat that we led off on. The message from the club has been expecting a quiet January. They've consistently been putting this message out. Managing expectations there?
1,000,000%.
Right.
But also, they were never going into January expecting 4 or 5.
No.
Something would have had to have gone terribly wrong, injury-wise or with results. So it was always going to be a quiet January window. The problem Leeds have is that they are linked continually, spuriously, with a million players all of the time, because agents think Leeds United is a very big name, a very good name. they're looking for a 10 or a centre back or a 9. You know, maybe I'll drum up some interest in my player that way. But just because it's a quiet window doesn't mean they're not going to do anything. And I've always thought all along that, like Farke says, if they get an opportunity to get a proper difference maker, there's no way they won't act. And I don't think they can sit on their hands when it comes to Pascal this week if it turns out that his tendon is also involved in this injury.
Yeah, there's been a lot of noise about the lad at Forest, isn't it? What's his name? It begins with an O.
He does, yeah, you're right.
He was a player that was liked, genuinely, in a previous window, but hadn't been a target this window, prior to Stroik at least. But I wouldn't be surprised if he was still on a list and was revisited now that Pascal's a potential injury victim.
Yeah. And do you think Leeds at all suffered from, I mean, Farke has spoken about him not being a centre-back solution for the rest of the season, having two righties in there, two right-footed defenders, with Ampadu over on the left, sometimes it makes that some of the distribution out from the back not ideal.
I know what you're saying, because Pascal plays some lovely passes down the line and into feet and breaks lines with his left foot. But I don't know that it harmed Leeds that much last season, having Ampadu and Rodon. I thought they were very decent, and Ampadu's really good on the ball. But it probably does skew the direction of the build-up more towards the right-hand side.
Or it just takes that extra half a second, doesn't it, to adjust body shape. And you're looking back to Bielsa days when he worked a lot on body shape and receiving the ball in a particular way. Just you've got to position your body and turn it differently.
When we've got Byram as a left back as well, it does mean it's very right. It's a very righty.
So do we have four righties in the defence?
We did.
Yeah.
Christ, that's a lot, isn't it?
Could Meslier do a job at left back?
There's an argument for it.
Is there?
Omar, I can't even say it. Omar Bamidele is the name that I was searching for, Andrew. I won't try and say that again. So yeah, is he a lefty or is he a righty? Do we know?
You'll have to get on Transfermarkt and
it's far too technical a question for us to answer at this at this sort of level. But yeah, it'll be an interesting closing. What have we got now? 10, 11 days left in the window. Hopefully they will do something. I think.
When are you hearing from Farke again? About 10 minutes.
Yeah, Farke's press conference for Norwich is Monday at 4.
Right. What's he going to say?
So he'll face all the same questions again.
What do you think he will say on Monday at 4 o'clock that he's not said on Sunday at 2 o'clock?
He's going to say, "Here's Emi Buendia."
Right. He's going to say
me.
That Brendan has been assessed and will face a late decision, but hopefully he should be fine for the game. That's what I expect him to say. You don't expect it to be a bad one if it's just a knock, if he's just taking a kick, and he's been able to play on it for the vast majority of the game. So I expect he'll say that he's going to be assessed ahead of the game. Yes, the usual bumps and knocks is probably what he'll say. And apart from that, he'll talk about how he had a great time at Norwich, great relationship with the owners. Don't expect much else, really.
What do you think he'll say, Michael, and how would it sound?
I just can't imagine what can't imagine what he's going to say, really.
Right.
It's more what we're going to ask. You know, we've just spoken to him.
I suppose it's about team changes maybe for Norwich. Do you make the odd tweak to it?
Well, I
give Ramazani a start or something.
Firpo maybe comes in because Byram 290s in a short space of time, and is there a need for Byram to play 290s in a short space of time when you've got Firpo ready to come back in?
So do you think maybe he didn't use him today specifically in order to keep him fresher for?
Well, Firpo's working his way back as well, isn't he, from injury? So he's maybe wanted to ease him back in. Byram's not done a bad job, though.
No, he's good.
He's great. I think pound for pound, he's probably been one of the best signings we've made in the last year or two. Yeah,
they've got a lot more football out of him than anyone expected, I think. Probably more football than Byram expected to play. You know, he played a lot of 90s, didn't he? A lot of starts in that spell when Firpo was suspended and then injured. That's been a great free signing.
Yeah, great bit of recruitment. And technically, he just when you think he's going to hit the wall of technical ability, he just pulls something out and you go, oh, you're good. You're a good footballer.
There was just a little back pass today as well where it was just an awkward, I think the ball had come to him high and maybe a bit quick, but he was able to knock it back to Meslier and you think, yeah, that's very accomplished. Just is the way I always look.
Congratulations for being good at your job.
But we see a lot of players who aren't.
Yeah.
Like, it's very easy to knock that an awkward height for Meslier. I'll put it out for a corner. I'll put it a bit behind him.
That's just what he doesn't need right now.
Exactly. And it just was a nice calm moment. I thought, oh, tidy that. Good. Nice. And that is what Sam Byram, he just gives you, he's a very solid 7 out of 10 Did you give him 7 out of 10?
I think I did give him 7 out of 10.
Of course you did.
Yeah.
Every week. Don't even write that bit.
No,
Save yourself some time.
it's already pasted in. Also, should be noted that all 3 goals today came from summer signings, didn't they?
Did they?
Mm.
Good. Well done.
Little pat on the back for the recruitment team.
Well done, recruitment team. No rest for another 2 weeks. That's what I'm saying.
True enough. Go on holiday afterwards.
Yeah.
Or just keep watching.
Well, given how much
videos.
work they'll have to do to this squad in the summer if they go up, I don't think they can have any time off.
And if we don't go up, that probably going to be doing a lot of work, but not in the same sort of fun way.
No, the work will be... No, it'd be like the difference between, I don't know, biology, homework, and, name a fun subject.
PE.
PE.
What's your PE homework? Running around a bit.
Do a run.
Kick a football outside.
Run, jump high.
In the garden. Right, Graham, thank you for coming in. We will do it again soon, and fingers crossed for another 3 against Norwich through the week. We'll see you soon.
See you soon.
The Square Ball Podcast.